Good evening, everybody. Welcome back. Alex StarCraft here, bringing you guys the second game in this best of 3 from the pool play of the MLG 2012 Winter Championships. We are going to have ourselves a game between Evil Genius's Huk, the red Protoss in the top right-hand corner, and Complexity's Heart, the blue Terran in the bottom right-hand corner, on MLG Antiga Shipyard. Now, two important things you will note. One, again, just like on the last game on Metalopolis, the neutral supply depot at the bottom of the ramp prevents any crazy shenanigans with wall-offs and pylons and bunkers and all that craziness, generally against Zerg, so not too much of an issue in this. And additionally, they are cross-spawn positions. I believe on this version of the map, as well as many competitive versions, that is the case, because of course, you know, if, I actually learned the other day, if the Terran players here, and they siege up tanks, they can shoot units over here. They can reach this gas. That is the most annoying thing I have ever encountered in a game before. Anyway, so, welcome back, guys. And as we get into this game and see what these players are going to be doing, I'm going to briefly discuss the last game. If you did not see it, definitely go watch it. It was a very close, very intense game between, of course, Huk and Heart. Heart opting to do a 1-1-1 aggression, 1-1-1 timing push build, which is, of course, very, very strong versus many Protoss players. You see a lot of Terran players using it frequently, and he was able to barely take out Huk. Huk was forced to pull probes, and eventually he could not hold it. However, Heart was almost 100% mined out by the time he won, so if Huk had managed to hold out for about 45 more seconds, he could have been in very, very good shape. So, very close game 1. Now let's see what will happen in game 2. As I said, this is from the pool play, where the players are playing best of 3s. However, the best of 3s will not eliminate them or knock them from the bracket. It will determine whether they advance into the championship bracket and their placement in that bracket as well. And I'm getting a little bit of lag here. Hopefully that goes away pretty soon. Again, not sure why it's doing that, but I will be getting myself a new processor soon, so that'll be very nice. Looks like this probe was dueling with probably an SCV, and ooh, it does get taken out, so that's a little bit unfortunate for Huk. We see, unfortunately, Huk was not able to kill a Workers of Hearts, but Heart has actually not scouted at all, so he does not know where his opponent is. He probably does because of the spawns, but we're going to go ahead and see what these players are doing this game. We see Heart opting to throw down two barracks, one of which with a tech lab. He has one gas, as well as that orbital command out. So to me, who is, keeping in mind, not an expert on the TVP, I just love the casting, trying to learn, this indicates that he'll be going for some kind of pressure, possibly light pressure with Marines, and will, of course, be able to well defend his expansion. Of course, keeping the Marines right here denies any kind of scouting, any stalker harass, and you can have an expansion up and running. You can indeed have it defended. Now, it looks like Huk may well also be opting to go for a rather fast expansion. There we go. Yeah, we see him queuing up the Nexus after sending out the probe. And while this is called a one-gate expand for Protoss, one might think it's like the one-racks gasless expand that Terrans do, but no, it is not. You often see Protoss players just get their gateway, gas, cyber, and then start the warp gate, and then expand, and then, just as we're seeing Huk do, throw down a robotics bay immediately after that. No, that is robotics facility. I'm so bad at getting those names confused. But looks like Heart, continuing to pump out Marines, does not have anything to expand. Throwing down another supply depot, and oh my gosh, lag. But no, he's not building up any kind of money, so he's actually not getting supply depot. He's going for concussive shells. So it looks like he's actually going to be going for some 2 racks pressure. Now, I do know that 2 racks versus Protoss players does indeed exist, but I have personally never seen it executed before. Now, this can be really, really good versus a Nexus, early Nexus build like Huk is opting to go. You see, he only has 1 warp gate. He does not have gate or warp. He only has 1 gateway and does not have gateway warp gate. Oh my god, finished. And he has 2 more gateways on the way, but his opponent will likely be pushing out pretty soon. And you see, keeping these Marines forward and the Marauder back so it does not get scouted. And with concussive shells, that negates the kiting that Marauders, or that Stalkers can do versus Marines and Marauders. It negates their speed. And it also, of course, makes Zealots that much less effective because they have trouble reaching the units without getting slowed so much, or when they are getting slowed so much. So Huk with an Immortal on the way. That Immortal will certainly do a lot of damage, but for the time being, all he has is 1 Stalker. Does he even have a Zealot on the field? Oh my god, he does not. And Heart going around the Zonaga Tower. Even if Huk had control of this, he would not see it, sending an Observer across, but he's going to completely miss this push. He has SCVs with it, so he can throw up a bunker, and Huk did just get the Warp Gate finished and the 3 gateways down, so he does have 3 gateways to defend this, and he is going to have an Immortal out. So we have 3 Zealots, a Stalker, and an Immortal out, but this is a big force from Heart. We see he's far ahead in the supply. If we look at the worker tab really quick, we see Huk is up 31 to 26, but if he cannot hold this expansion, he could lose the game here. We'll have to see what it is. So he is trying his best to control his Zealots, bringing all the forces to make sure he attacks. He loses that pylon, so that will hurt his reinforcement ability, but sending all these units out, and you see that Zealot getting slowed down very quickly, and Heart immediately cancels the bunker. He says, okay, Huk has a little too much for me to engage with that right there. So he does back up, but we see some very nice stutter step micro from Heart, making sure he's killing those Zealots or damaging them as much as he possibly can. And he's going to try and hurt the Marauder, but of course, even against the Marines, the non-armored units, Marauders do so much damage. And we do see Heart is expanding behind this. So many of you probably noticed that on the production tab long before I did, because I'm a big newbie, but this means he was expanding behind it. This was not an all-in play. And so that is why doing that little push there, picking off a pylon, did not lose a single unit, was not a bad trade for him. Or maybe lost one or two. If he lost anything, I did not see. But he only may have lost a few units, and because he was not all in, that was definitely not bad for him. We can see he is in okay shape, but I would say that Huk is ahead at this point. And oh my god, this lag. I'm very sorry about that, guys. But I would say Huk is ahead at this point. We see he's up by 9 workers. He's been mining at this expansion longer. But once again, there is another push coming out from Heart, and Huk is going to have to make sure he can hold this. If he doesn't, he could be in a fair amount of trouble. Stimming the Marine, running up the ramp, seeing what there is, and upon seeing that, immediately runs away. And so, there we go. You see Huk managing to defend these 2 sentries would have, of course, been very key, and they could have force fielded this with almost the 3 force fields between them, and that is no doubt why Heart opted to back out. And we see that robotics bay coming down for Huk somewhere, right there it is, right next to the natural. So he's getting that down. He did break down these rocks, so he will be able to see when the 3rd goes down, and he will be opting to go for some fast Colossi. Or not super duper fast, but they are fairly fast. And so Huk keeping his observer right out here by the army, so he will see if it moves out. So if we look back to the base of Heart, we see he has gotten the starport to start up that medevac production, combat shield over halfway done, and stim pack, of course, already completed. And he's only on 2 racks still, so he's just pumping out units very constantly, getting up that count. And yeah, there we see the 2 more barracks being added on as his economy manages to start scaling up finally. And so Heart is doing a pretty good job with everything. There's the engineering bay, and of course that won't only help him with missile turrets if need be. Sniping that observer, very nice from there. We're probably going to see Huk queue an observer at some point, but we see him in the meantime chrono boosting out that Colossus as well as +1 ground attacks, and I'd imagine extended thermal lance. Yes, exactly as I look. He's getting all those, and we actually are going to see some drop play coming from Heart, and Huk unfortunately does not have an observer to see this coming, but it does look like he is fairly well prepared. He does have stalkers sitting back here, and they will be able to help with this drop. This other probe seeing out, it does see that factory and the unit sniping it, so this probably has Huk on guard. And where are those medevacs? The medevacs are just sitting over here, hoping probably, well, of course, these guys being very annoying over here, but what Heart might be hoping for is that if he attacks the front, that these stalkers will run away a little bit. But Huk unfortunately getting supply block there, and he's actually going to lose this one too. And there is a drop going down in the back of his base. We see Huk actually with some very nice play right there. I'm not sure if that's a total coincidence, but he does throw down his pylons, one to get on supply block, but at the same time it did create a choke. The units were in here, they could not stutter step away, they could not stutter step to the side, anything like that. And so Heart doing a little bit of damage with that, supply blocking his opponent, but Huk is well on the way of getting +1 and Colossus and that extended thermal lance. And Heart only just with his +1 infantry weapons, just under halfway done. So he's a bit behind on the upgrades, and of course the thing is with Terran versus Protoss, if you start behind on the upgrades and the Protoss player is good about it, it is almost impossible to stay even. But just because of the fact that the Protoss will have possibly double 4s, and they can just be dumping chrono boost from even up to 3 nexuses into those. And so that can be very scary, and upgrades can add up very fast. So Heart sending that factory around again, and he does have another probe. Huk actually doing a very good job sending these guys around. Let's see where it's going. He's checking this 3rd of his opponent, but at the same time we see it's giving him a fair amount of information. And is Heart gonna manage to get it? Looks like no, he won't, but he does have a Viking production started. We see him making 2 at a time, and he does have a good sized ball of Marine Marauder, and of course a lot of Marauders. But Huk is pushing out across the map now, and look at these army comparison. Heart's army is so small compared to Huk's, and it is is not as well upgraded. The +1 about to finish, but Huk is, of course, already +1, making a proxy pot on right there, and I'm not sure Heart is not going to try and snipe these because he knows that could potentially prove too costly. He only has 2 Vikings sitting right here, and there was actually a bit of drop action going on back here, but it looks like Huk was able to deal with that very, very well, and it's a big push coming up. Huk does throw down some force fields, SCVs being pulled off the line, Zealots getting into the fray, and the Colossi doing so much damage in the back right there, and wow. Okay, for a second I thought my game was lagging incredibly badly. No, Heart just left that game. He saw those force fields, he saw these Zealots and Stalkers, and particularly these 3 Colossi paired with a low Viking count, and he said, okay, that's it, I'm done. And so they will be going into the ace match for this series, 1 game each. Heart proving he can do some very good early aggression and overwhelm Huk, but Huk also proving that when given the chance, he can definitely run with Heart in a macro style game and avoid the drops for sure. I'm actually, no, I'm not going to rewind to see what happens. So hopefully I'll do better watching drops in game 3. You guys can come join me in that. I'll be casting it in just a second. Hopefully you'll be watching it in just a second. Otherwise, have a wonderful evening, guys.